This is Rev Derek, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at Rev Derek Terry. And of course, I'm the pastor of St. Peter's United Church of Christ. You can find us online at Facebook at St. Peter's Cincy, also on Instagram, Twitter, and I'm at RevDerek.com. Hello. One of the things that keeps coming up, or that I keep seeing online or people talking to me about, is their fear and their anxiety in the middle of this pandemic, this COVID-19, this quarantine period. We're getting bombarded with lots of information, and quarantine fatigue is a real thing. And so I see a lot of people talking about fear and what they fear and what they don't fear and how they're going to push against that. And last week, for Mother's Day, we looked at a passage of scripture that I'm going to revisit one of the verses this week to talk about a little bit about fear. It's a pretty familiar passage of scripture for some of us, and that's from 2 Timothy, the first chapter, the 7th verse. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and of love and of self-control. And so I see a lot of people using the idea of not being afraid of COVID-19 as a reason to shirk some of the guidance from our public health officials in order to get back to normal. So I want to talk about what fear is, what fear isn't, and how we can deal with our fears, which fears are healthy and which fears are unhealthy. So first, let me give you my idea of fear. There are certain things that I am afraid of. One of them is heights. And it's weird for some people because I'm a tall person. They're like, how are you going to be so afraid of heights? I am. So literally, a couple of rungs up on a ladder and I'm freaking out. And that's a fear that I'm constantly pushing myself to overcome. Steps every time I fly. Elevators, they all cause some fear. They all cause fear. What I mean by that is that it's this hesitance. And when that hesitance comes and when that fear comes, I start to tell myself lies and stories. And so when it comes to the fear of heights, it's I'm going to fall, I'm going to die, I'm going to hurt myself. And those are all lies. Now, is it a possibility that I could fall? Absolutely. But it's a possibility I could fall at any other point in the day. And is it a possibility that I could die? Probably not when I'm on a stepladder, but if I'm up really high, perhaps. But is that a truth? No. And so often when we're afraid, we tell ourselves all kind of lies. And in those lies, because we hear them in our voice, we believe them, and that increases our anxiety and it freaks us out. Now, healthy fears. Fear is put there, I believe, to help us to avoid certain truths. So there's the lies that create fears, but then there's the truth. So Iyanla Vanzant used to say back in the day when she was on Oprah, if you see crazy coming across the street, in other words, if you see a man or a woman or a person running down the street with a mask and blood all over them and they're carrying a chainsaw, you're not going to face your fears, right? And stand up to that person and see what's going on. All of those things will trigger, truth. This is not a good situation. Let me run. Let me seek shelter. Let me go somewhere. And so that's why fear is there. What we have to do then is decipher what is real from what is our brain telling us could happen or could be real, that is a lie that is keeping us from doing that thing. Now let's go a step further. Perhaps you want to start a ministry. Perhaps you want to start a business. Perhaps you want to write a book. Perhaps you have some dream that you're carrying around inside of you that you haven't been able to articulate. Whenever you think about that, perhaps there are thoughts that come into your head that are that create fear, that create anxiety. Oh, you won't be successful. Oh, it won't work. People will make fun of you. You'll lose this. You'll lose that. Those are all lies. You don't know. All we have is the present. Unfortunately, sometimes when we're looking to do something or to shift or to change, our brain, our defense mechanism, our pain avoidance will start to tell us all types of stuff in order to protect us from getting our feelings hurt. How many people think like that, or were taught that think the worst, so that way if it doesn't happen, you won't be disappointed? The problem with thinking like that is then you disappoint yourself because you create that thought in your brain. And when your brain hears something in your voice, it's even more powerful. And so we have to decipher, is this a good fear? Is there crazy coming? Should I run? Or is this a lie that I'm telling myself? Is this a false fear? Is this something that isn't true? Starting the business, I'm going to lose everything. Is that a possibility? It may be. I don't know your situation. But is that a fact? No. And so we have to constantly question and constantly balance. Is what I think, is what I feel, is this real or is this fake? 2 Timothy, 1st chapter, verse 7. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, of love, and of self-control. Why self-control? For some versions of the Bible say a sound mind. What is a sound mind? Truth. Something that is fact, right? Something that is real versus the stuff that we come up with in our head. Self-control. You control how you think. You control what you think. And so when those lies start to pop in, oh, you're not good enough. You're not great enough. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You don't have this. You don't have that. You don't have what they have. Those are all lies. So the self-control comes in. It's up. Stop. What is real? Right now, I'm good. In God's hands, I rest unharmed. How can I do this? I can do this. No, you can't. You're not good enough. Yes, I can. I can do this. How do I get the acumen, the skills, that which I need to pursue this business endeavor, to write this book? And how do you overcome those fears? And as it relates to COVID, this is real. Nearly 100,000, as of today's broadcast, nearly 100,000 Americans have died. That's not a guess. They're actual deaths having to take place with social distance and stream on Facebook because people can't have a traditional funeral. And the idea of not following the steps of the health professionals, of the public health professionals, is somehow you railing against the fear or not being afraid. It's really a disregard for the lives of those who have died and those lives of those people who are in your circle right now. Now, I understand that all across this country, each and every community, each and every state are in a completely different situation, but we all have to be smart. We all have to protect ourselves, and we all have to protect one another. And it's not, this disease is not something to rail against, to fight back. It's something that we've seen can kill easily. It's something that can spread extremely easily. And so we have to be smart. The fear is real. And it's telling us to take all the necessary precautions in order to not only take care of ourselves and our loved ones, but to look out for those around us. That means practicing social distancing to reduce the chances of us contracting the disease and giving it to someone in our family, but also if we have it, to prevent us from giving it to someone else. And so we know that every community is at various stages. And even as everything opens back up, I pray that you are smart and that you use that fear mechanism appropriately. Is it steeped in fact? Okay, what do I need to do? But then at the same time, as you're getting back to normal, those things that you've been thinking about during quarantine, that business you've been thinking about starting, that school you've been thinking about going back to, whatever that is, whatever those fears are, I pray that you feel it, that you deal with it, but that you move forward and do what you need to do in order to pursue your dreams anyway. Self-control. You control how you think. So you control whether or not you're feeding your dreams or you're starving them. You control whether or not your thoughts are positive and leading to positive change, or whether your thoughts are detrimental and leading to negativity. And you determine whether or not your brain is working to construct or whether your brain is working to destruct. You have the power. You have the self-control, and it came from God. For that fear is not from God. That fear, those lies, but that truth. That's why it says love. Love is truth. Love is not a feeling. Love is a fact. So that truth, that comes from God. That self-control, that comes from God. All you have to do is tap into it. You feed the love and you starve the fear. Take care. God bless. Love you. RevDerek.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at RevDerekTerry. Peace.